lots and they're locked up for the weekend.
But it does.
It's great on Friday night when you get have cars blocking the driveway all weekend.
You got a forklift.
Exactly.
You did fill up the bucket.
But eventually overall plan is to add another parking lot. So we can get rid of the enterprise costs. All that.
This meeting is right on the spot. You ready, Paul? All right.
If you're hungry, Mayor, I get it.
It being 12:01, I call the meeting to order. Is the roll call going around? I haven't seen it.
No.
Can we
Okay.
start one?
We
Let
will-
me, have you got a plate here? I got this paper. Never mind. I got one right here. I'll start it, and if you'll just sign it, then you can go ahead to the next thing.
Okay, so roll call is coming around. If everybody will please sign that. We'll go to number C, approval of the agenda.
I'd just like to note that we got 2 old business, need to change one to new business.
Okay, which,
That's Paul's fault.
I missed that.
do we need a motion for that or is that? Okay.
Don't worry about it.
All right, so agenda, I do need a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah.
Pending that. So,
I make a motion to approve.
No, I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. We'll go to number D, citizen comments. I know Mr. Hitchcock wanted to address the board, so I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm coming today as an insurance agent and as a client of the airport. And what I passed out, you may not, I didn't realize how many people were going to be here. But Paul and I have talked about this before, and I complained about it several different times. But the parking area over by the hangar, T1, they put the gravel out there and parked some airplanes there. These are some pictures. These were from back in August of last year, I believe. And that's where the my wing on my aircraft was overlapping. That was yesterday. But that was the third picture. The third picture was from yesterday, and the guy actually just pulled his airplane out a little too far. But my wing is overlapping other aircraft, which is way too close to those. And so what I'm asking is to mitigate some risk in the future, which I believe is going to happen at some point, which can be quite costly, is if you'll reconsider or consider asking for some money to extend that new area there with the crusher run so it can move the airplanes back a little further. If my wing hits a prop somewhere, that's very expensive. Because not only you've got a prop strike, then you've got to inspect the engine, and you're talking $30,000 or $40,000 plus the wing. Maybe it's just wing tips, I don't know, but I appreciate that. If you all will consider that I don't know how that happens. You maybe put it on the agenda for the next time. And I've got other pictures I can email them to you and show you. But I mean, Paul has done what he can do, I believe, to get the airplanes back as far as possible. But I'm still close to those airplanes. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3 feet. It's uncomfortable when I'm coming down through there. And sometimes when they're pretty close, I take my tow out and I tow it down through there. But I haven't had to do that recently. I can actually start the airplane and taxi it down through there. The last picture is the color shot of the T hangar. And then you can see the gravel parking area there. If y'all could just extend that one more truckload, I guess, width-wise, I think that would help tremendously. And I know gravel costs a lot, but I don't think it costs as much as having to get your general liability insurance insured to mitigate some risk. But I appreciate your considering that. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer questions. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Wayne, are these people pulling their own airplane out?
You'll have to. Oh, okay. I believe so.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
That's part of the issue we're having is that they're required to pull their own airplanes in and out because of the fact it is gravel, they're aware.
Right.
And so they're just not, when they're parking in themselves, they're not getting it pushed back far enough.
Okay.
So Paul, when they're tied down properly and pushed back into a proper position, is there adequate room there or?
Just enough, yeah,
It's not.
just enough. We know that, and that's why it's, there hasn't been more put in it, because there are plans for, to make it something more prominent there. We're working with the state. Our next bipartisan infrastructure request would be for Plainfields, which would have paving and permanent structure over there, and it'll go all the way back. And so there'll be drainage improvements. The whole area will be reworked and redone with the proper separations.
Is the issue now just this row here? Or are there taxi issues along here?
Well, that's never really, the plan was to never really have taxi on the western side of the T hangers. Now, the reason why those the temporary spot or the grass spots are where they are is so that people can pull straight forwards and not have to turn left or right really to taxi down through the T hangers. Eventually, I'm sure we'll have to, once we can get some more tie downs, we'll remove all those spots so that we won't have anybody taxiing on the west side of the T hangers. It really is it's just on that south end is the main issue. And eventually other designs have a taxi lane going through there that'll be permanent, that'll go to other T hangers that are coming in the future, probably about 10 years down the road.
And Mr. Hitchcock, your hangar is one of these.
Yes, my hangar is the one right here. So when I pull out, I have to go by all those airplanes, when there's a lot of airplanes sitting there. There's two there currently. The guy that was parked here yesterday, he causes another problem. So when I turn in or when I turn out to where I can put my toe in and push it back in, if it's a high wing airplane, I have to stop short because I'm going to hit them. If it's a low wing airplane, it's a little easier, but I can't pull over to the right and back it in that way because we got gravel over there where the pavement is bad.
It's been damaged, right?
So I can only pull in that one way. But he moved yesterday. I mean, he moved right away. He moved over here to the corner. The corner spot is not bad.
Because you have extra room
Right.
here.
We tried to mitigate somewhat by moving as many of the high wings. Before when it was very full, we didn't have much of a choice, but now that we do have a little bit more space, we've been just putting low wings over there, no high wings. And should help
The
that.
problem is, if they could push them just a little further back, that gravel ends right there. And so if you push them much further back, then they'll just roll off the back, but just a little more would help.
So when you
That
tack,
kind of bend.
when you tack it down here, Wayne, and you said the clearance was okay, what is that, 1 foot, 2 feet?
Well, when I'm on the yellow line, that looks right there, when I'm on the yellow line,
Okay.
I have 3 to 4 feet, so my wing doesn't hit a hanger. But I don't have that much room with the airplanes. I'm missing them. I'm maybe a foot or so from them. It depends on where they park it at the time. But yesterday was just an odd case, and I had those pictures from the other time that I put in there to make the case even better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Are there other citizen comments? Other citizens? No other comments? Okay. We'll move to E, approval of the minutes. Anyone had a chance to read? What?
Did you want to make a citizen's comment?
I just want to make a comment that I was here to observe the meeting because I'm interested in rounding up airplanes, anything that flies. To bring to it, that's all. And
What's your,
meeting with them.
what's your name, ma'am?
Sharon
And your,
Tinkler.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Does everyone have a chance to look at the minutes? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move that we approve minutes as written.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Passes. Paul, you're up. Reports.
Okay. The stack I usually give you is a little bit hodgepodge this time. Hopefully everybody's got a copy. My boss had a meeting for this one, and so I was, getting ready time was shortened to about 5 minutes. So I apologize, but The, if you need a hard copy, I'll find you one somewhere in the stacks of stuff. The, usually in February, which this is reporting, talking about discussing February, our numbers are usually pretty small because of weather and things of that nature, but this year it was a little different. And I guess with Mother Nature cooperating, we had about 1,000, operations more than we did this time last year. So, and majority of that was with, single engines, mainly training. Some of that being the fact of, starting a new flight school and also, other flight training coming in from all over. And we have 6 different flight schools using the runway on a daily basis. It seems like, just ask the jets to come in. That's what they say. They're all in the pattern at the exact same time. They're coming from not only here, but Smyrna, and we even have some coming Murfreesboro. We have some coming from Alabama that come up here for training.
Are the jets still being cleared straight in?
They work on it. But there are some that are, it just all depends on the conditions, IFR or not, things of that
Well-
nature. But yeah, I jokingly say that because Thor Sport comes in here on a regular basis, they start negotiating when they cross the Kentucky-Tennessee border. They negotiate their landing. The other thing, it just is falling down through here. It was mentioned last month, we had 8 projects underway. One of those is finally closed out, thank goodness. And Kay's very excited about that, our city treasurer. That's finally off the books. I'm waiting for one thing from Garver as far as some electronic information, but that's nothing that has anything to do with our construction. That's just more of a paper drill. The other projects, I got 2 of them 3 of them really are in the holding pattern. And so the other 2 right now, there was a pump truck out there today pouring concrete. So this time next month, you'll be seeing some pictures of the buildings sitting up there. Now, whether or not they'll be moved in, it's not quite sure. But the doors for those 2 hangars will be delivered next week, according to the owners.
The steel that came in,
What's that?
that steel that came in today, was that for the hangar that's being poured?
Yes, there's already been some steel on the ground, and the what you saw out there, the insulation that came in yesterday is being stored in Dr. George's hangar. He's being nice enough to let them have a storage space for their insulation. So they're ready. They're going to be putting steel up Monday.
Oh, wow.
Now they're waiting on all the concrete to cure. The other thing to bring up was our Tennessee Airports Conference, annual conference. And their theme this year was, of course, Airports of the Future. And it was kind of interesting or comical, whichever way you want to look at it, talking about what different organizations thought the futures of airports were going to look like. Some of it was discussions of sustainable fuel, some of electric, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And but the biggest concern that was brought up and was a lot of the general sidebar discussions, which most anybody that goes to those conferences knows that's where most of the work is done, is on the side. It's not necessarily in the meetings. And the biggest discussion item out there was the fact that the funding for GA airports is going away. It's pretty much gone for the most part for Tennessee. Tennessee used to be they used to lead the pack, really, and they used to have a lot of other states tried to emulate what Tennessee had done. Well, Tennessee is now gone the political route, and the air carriers have taken all the Tennessee Equity Fund, and the GAs get none. And eventually the Tennessee Equity Fund, I see that probably going away. But so now they're relying on money coming from the General Assembly, just like every other draw that's out there. And so with that comes issues with whoever's got political connections and different things of that nature, eventually get more money. The state aeronautics is trying in their different ways, doing more and more statewide projects to try to help support airports like they can, general aviation airports, through better unit prices, doing statewide projects that help out to do things. But the issue that we have with that is our airport's in much better condition than most every other GA airports in the state. We've met all our requirements. We exceed a lot of requirements. So we're ready for bigger and better things, and the money's not there. So we'll be looking for more creative ways. So that's a big concern that a lot of airports are going through right now for that, because as not every municipality has their own airport. Therefore, there's a lot of lobbyists, their municipalities through different organizations, different leagues, whatever you want to call them, are trying to get money for their own, the things that they need from the state, and airports gets pushed down to the bottom. So any organization that you might know, anybody that you might know, feel free to mention the fact that airports need money. Help us out with that. That's going to be one of the big pushes that you'll hear and see. And we'll be trying to come up with other creative ways to try to come up with funds coming from different sources besides aviation now. Following on down, you'll see some, as typical, the fuel flowage figures and numbers there. It's kind of comical that it was almost equal there for amount of gallons of Jet A and 100 low lead. It won't be quite that way already. Ricky's anxious for me to put the report out for this month already, just because of the fact of how much jet fuel we've already sold so far this month. But the operations are running about as standard, as far as for the year and things of that nature. But you can see the significant difference in you can see almost again the single engine operation from January to February was double, just because the weather was so nice, and for nice flying weather, even with the windstorms that we've had. Going down through all the various industries that you see coming through. And again, I've got, I like to be able to extend more and more of the regulars, which is great. We've seen more and more of that, where we're seeing some people that are coming through on a regular basis and starting to use us more and more for when they're, especially for charter services that are carrying people from north to south and stopping here to refuel, or stopping and giving their clients a chance to stretch their legs, go to the restroom and things of that nature, and taking on fuel. General maintenance, pretty standard this time of year. We did finally get our new fuel sign delivered. It's sitting in the maintenance shop, waiting for the person who manufactured it's a different person, didn't do an install. So now they're waiting, trying to get on the agenda for the guy that's doing the install. That should be coming any day, really. They keep telling us it should be any time. Couple little things that had to be done on some vehicles, had a door that had to be fixed, and that sort of explains why we got the Blazing for free from Park and Rec, because it was pretty obvious they didn't want to fix it years ago, and it'd been holding on by thread and been fixed a couple of different times. Well, the last time it couldn't be fixed, so we had to take it out of our hands and take it into town, and just enough to make it work and get it going. Hopefully it'll last for us a bit longer. All the preventive maintenance is finally done on the T hangers. Everything actually turned out pretty well this year, a lot better than expected. And so you usually rely on at least a few things that had to be touched up on. This year, everybody did pretty well. We only had to fix a couple of latches where people forgot when they hit their button that they had to unlock the other side, it seems like. And so we had to fix a couple of those, and I think we didn't replace any cabling this year. They had another water leak that came about. And have yet to figure out what happened. Why? Don't know. But Public Works was able to come in and repair it. It was outside the hangar, so it wasn't like it was inside the hangar. It didn't cause anything except for messing up some dirt, things like that. And so Public Works was able to come in. They actually enjoyed it because they got a new toy they got to play with that they had just gotten. It was nice and shiny. We got it dirty for them there at our place to do some digging and get it out. And it's always fun. It's like a treasure hunt every time you start digging around here, because there's no telling what you might find. And so it took them a little bit, but they got it fixed for us. Another little couple small things of repairs. I mean, I could almost leave the Quonset hut on every time this started out this time of year. Sorry, Chris, that's his rental over there. But his guys are, once they start really having to open and close it every day and use it regularly and things like that, that door, was designed to be built for World War II usage, and so we're constantly having to do some little maneuvering with it, but we'll keep it going as long as we can. Other things are just standard type equipment use, just trying to get them ready for the mowing season because the mowing season has started. In here in the terminal, in my office in there, we replaced the two big huge desks in there and got rid of those that have been here since I've been here and got smaller desks. One of those type persons, if I have a work surface, I'm prone to put something on it. So getting rid of those bigger surfaces to something smaller will make me a bit more organized. It'll force me to be organized with that one. Doing some ADA updates across the city. And so here we did the same thing. We're updating some of our signs, I see a few extra wheelchair signs and things of that nature around. Outside markings and things were updated and painted to make them look a lot nicer so you can see them. Another couple other things that we're doing on a couple of different gates to look on some different closures. That's a very, very broad brush, very high number because we could get into the details, but I don't think you guys really care for all that. But any questions on those type of reports? Financial reports, Kate delivered those to us yesterday. I printed some hard copies out here today. Be glad to review any of those that you'd like to see or like to discuss. One of the things that I do want to point out, I've mentioned it before, but it's not, when you see it on paper, it doesn't show up as much. So far, it shows for this year, we're 168 in the hole, if you want to put it that way. But one of the things that's not on here is the revenue from the rent from property from MTSU. So that's, that's missing $300,000 missing on that. So we're actually to the positive, even though the city might say it's not our money, but it is because it's on airport, it's airport property. So we're, but if you pull out some of the other numbers that you see and see some of the percentages and things of that nature, there's a few things that this little single page I kind of like on this as far as revenue is concerned because of with the addition of the land and things of that nature that our hangar rent's way above normal. So are some of the services, which is one of the things that I like to point out because of the fact that people are coming in and taking advantage of some of the setups, and that usually where we used to get some of our numbers on services was from overnight stays in the North Hangar. Well, those are not there anymore because we don't have it. So, but our numbers are still 160% higher than what was budgeted for because of different things that we provided, whether it be some landing fees or some forklift services and things of that nature. That seems to come and go. Sometimes we'll get bombarded with a lot of forklift usage where some companies are running full force, and another time, then it goes quiet. So that's what drives some of those different types of services that we see around. You'll see that the ag rent is still at zero, but Ginger's given us the contracts, and so we'll be getting a check, and that'll actually be higher than what it is now because the new bids came in higher than what it was last time. So that'll be all paid in one shot. So it'll go from all of a sudden zero to like 110% or 105% actually. One other thing you'll see on the airport maintenance grant, we have been completely reimbursed on that to the point that now, because we did 100%, we're eligible for another $5,000 from the state. And so it'll be on the next agenda for the city council to ask for. It's basically just a letter is all it's required to reapply. And we already have proof that we've got another $5,000 that we can get reimbursed for. So that will help even more. Another $5,000 from the state. Anything else? Any questions?
Okay, let's see, do we need a motion to accept look for a motion to accept all reports?
I'll move that we accept the maintenance report and the financial report.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor. All right, it passes. We'll go on to old business before old business. We have no old business, so we're on to new business.
Then we'll call the next one.
Okay, we'll go on to new business. First up on new business is Tennessee flight training request.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Paul and I, we've been in communication with regards to the remodel that we did. And everything went off great. And I don't know if you guys haven't had the opportunity, please come by, please walk through and definitely see the facilities that we were able to put into place. Unfortunately, when we did so, from when we got the quote until the guy actually walked in and started execution of the job, we had like a 40-something% increase in materials. That was over the course of about 4.5 months, roughly. Not y'all's fault, not my fault. It's just the way the world works in the construction business right now. So we definitely had an increase in materials. And then since there was an understanding that in the future those rooms were to be converted into a pilot's lounge, we wanted to go ahead and soundproof the rooms as much as possible. So I went ahead and spent a little extra in adding insulation in the walls. Instead of just putting up just drywall and having it hollow, I wanted to go ahead and do it right. And so we went ahead and added those things. Took an extra day, but not a big deal. For us, our original bid was about $5,000. I was hoping that we would come out less than $5,000. When it was all said and done, $7,735, right? Isn't that way construction goes? It's just the way that it goes, right? Completely unintentional, but you know how it is once you get going and you're in the middle of it, you just want to finish the job. So the question that I was asking Paul, and this is just simply a question, is can I get any consideration for that? If the answer is no, I'm a big boy. I'll eat it and I'll go on. It's just merely a question of can there be any consideration for the extra expenses that ended up happening in the construction. That's all.
That insulation's included in that price?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the insulation, it's in the wall, it's done, and it's taken care of.
The reason why I asked Chris to come for one of the, just as another backup, and I gave you a sheet, hopefully you got most of it, if you don't, from November of 23's meeting that was mentioned in the notes as far as the dollar amount and the type of compensation. Just a.
Yeah, and it is on record, and I stood up here and I told you that we think we can get it done for less than $5,000. But again, as with all construction, you don't know until you get in the middle of it. And there was a time gap between when I got the quote and when we actually executed. In that there was a swing in materials. So,
Chris, you're looking for
just
consideration.
Just consideration.
Form of a waive the rent for a couple of months, something like that.
Yeah, just as a continued part of the rental agreement.
So I guess the question for Paul, because we actually had in the motion the dollar amount at the time, and we thought in order to give natural flight training consideration, we would have to do another.
That's more of a question for
legal.
These two ladies.
Yeah.
Are legal. And the other thing I think it was the time frame of when, because since this meeting or since these minutes, and it didn't cross my mind at the time that we redid his lease. If you recall, we changed the terms of the configuration of his lease. The overall term, I guess, if you want to say, is the same. But
Oh, yeah.
The configuration of the 1, 2, and 2 is different. So I think Chris was looking also on the amount of time in which it was to be credited across, because based on the way it's written in the minutes, and it could have just been clarification in the minutes. I'm not sure if it's in the motion or not. It might have just been a clarification. But,
Yeah.
There is,
And again,
it
this
was,
is,
it was stated across the full lease, but I think he was asking for a sooner because of the fact that we've reconfigured his lease to look at it differently.
and again, this is hat in hand. If it's, if the legalities say this can't move, I understand. I painted myself in a corner here. But again, you know how it is. You get in the middle of construction and you're just like, I just want to get this done. So the good news is it turned quickly and the final product is impressive and something that can be used for the future.
Yeah, I've seen it. You guys did a good job. I
Thank
think
you.
it's much more usable space than it was before. It's
Thank you.
basically, yeah, turned out well. I can offer a little bit of insight to the rest of the board. Our company, aviation company, is in 5 different states and 8 different locations, and we negotiate things like this all the time. And usually we don't get a dollar amount. It's whatever, and you turn in your receipts, whatever the amount of the build out is, we get credit for that at up to, but no more than 1/2 of whatever our normal rent is, and then amortized across the long-term lease. So however that would play out. And that is normally how it goes across aviation. So I personally have no problem. I think he's done a great job in redoing the space. And if Paul had gone in, it probably would have cost more, given that it's a city entity. And so
It's taking a lot longer.
the only caveat I would have is that the FBO still has costs associated with you being a tenant here. You know, there's traffic, there's electricity, there's all these
Absolutely.
things.
And I'm not asking for free.
So no, I mean, personally, I'm all for giving you credit for the full amount. It's just amortizing it over a reasonable period so that Paul can still see some income,
Some cash
some rent coming in.
Right.
Yeah. Those are mine.
My suggestion was gonna be that we split the rent with him until it's caught up, but yours is even better than that. And,
Well, I kind of saying the same thing. I did.
well, yeah, chunk amortization.
Right.
So I've got no problem with it.
Any other?
I'm good with it.
Okay, well, given that, somebody will have to make a motion. I'll entertain a motion to an addendum for Nashville Flight Training's lease. Somebody wants to make that motion?
Tell us again what the motion's going to be.
Oh.
Is that what it's going to be?
I was trying to look for that myself.
My recommendation is that we give Nashville Flight Training full credit for the expense that they spent on the rebuild.
Chris, would you say that again? How much is it?
$7,735.
Thank you.
And that is over what was initially, programmed at 5,000.
Right.
You have 2,500 over.
Correct.
So I would entertain a motion that would give Nashville Flight Training credit for their expenses on the rebuild of their space to be credited to them monthly at no more than half of the amount of their stated rent.
Okay.
How long is the lease?
So moved.
We have a motion for Mr. Bay. I would entertain a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Good work.
Thanks for that.
Okay.
Hey, last thing, I have to show that Paul and Eric made the front page of the paper.
Oh.
So-
How many copies did you have?
Oh, well,
That amount.
You want to tell
No,
them?
I'll go by the.
That we're gonna get
They have
over the course of the year.
Over the course of 6 months.
And I'm sorry, I missed your ribbon cutting. I was out of town. It looked like it was a big success.
it was a lot of stuff. Thanks so much for, probably, thank y'all for coming out.
That's cool. See that?
Now instead of 5 years.
Okay, let's see, that's item A on new business. Item B, I guess this is you, Paul, letter of interest, electric charging station. You have piqued my curiosity.
Now you have it as well.
Oh, yes.
All right. as stated in the, and there's been some discussion prior to, before our airports conference, my guess is it was probably when there was some reaching out from the Tennessee Aviation Association to the state about some possible topics and things of that nature. I think is probably where it came up, because Tennessee is actually has quite a few companies that are leading in some of the electric technology. Even our own Ariane aircraft has got one of their fuselages was used in an electric airplane out west. Somebody bought the fuselage, and because I remember reaching out to Nick once saying, "Hey, I think somebody stole your design." He said, "No, we sent them the fuselage, and they were using it trying to figure out how to, because the body of the Ariane was so light, they were trying to figure out how to make it electric." But what Tennessee has is a couple of different companies. That one in particular is a electric company that's providing the service itself, not providing aviation in particular, but aviation is an emphasis in their services. They're more of the charging stations. They're the company that would come in, set up charging stations, set up different types of usage for their system while aviation is on one side, cars on the other, and other types of things that are used for the electric side of things. They're taking advantage of a lot of federal grants that are out there, things of that nature. There's another company in Tennessee that's for those that are pilots are familiar with the old Trade-A-Plane. Trade-A-Plane pretty much with the onset of online there's no longer paper copy anymore. So their old building was sold to shedding a tear over there.
Yeah.
There's they've sold that building to is it, I think they're the Whisper Arrow or something like that. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but the company itself is actually building the fans. So they're building fans with electric motors and things of that nature, with that type of technology that they have in their plans. It's used in various things, but by the plan that they have, they're planning on having a 100-passenger jet by 2050. That's electric. It's electric. It can carry 100 passengers. Their technology is already there. They're also doing various things with the VTOL, which is the vertical takeoff, electric vertical takeoff and landing. That's probably what a lot of people have probably seen more than anything else, because it looks just like a large drone. And that's also in the system too. And there's some other companies that are working on those designs that are not in Tennessee, but Tennessee products are being used in those pieces of equipment. Well, as part of that process, they have reached out to various airports that the state has reached out to us in particular because of our location. It's one of them. And also because of some other things that we've been doing here. They have reached out along with a couple other airports and said, you guys seem to be a good candidate for a future home of electric aircraft. And with that being such, it's some of it being the fact that we're outside the future Class B that's coming in 2025 for Nashville. We're centrally located in the state, so we work well for future cargo haulers that might be running from Birmingham to Louisville, like for UPS, or running out of Atlanta and coming across, or people that are coming down I-40 headed to Memphis for FedEx or something like that. I mean, it's just the typical crossroads, same particular crossroads that have in their infinite wisdom having three interstates cross each other in Nashville with a river, all that fun stuff. Same kind of scenario is the location and the fact that of MTSU. And one of the other reasons is because in some of the ideas with MTSU, some of the discussions that they've had for future plans with MTSU is they're following with a lot of attention on electric, so that because that seems to be some of the areas that potentially would be in training first because of the weight issues. And so MTSU's expressed interest not only on their technology side, but also for their fleet, that at some point in time, they could end up switching over to electric. And so we want to be, the state's encouraging us to think ahead. But what this is and what you got on you've seen in the attachment that some of this that came in, this is sort of just a generic letter that they sent through this basically saying, we are interested. And that, we're sort of imploring to the state to act on our behalf to, when something comes up, the state will put us out there as a candidate.
We're interested in what?
Interested in hosting and or taking advantage of the future of electric, whether it be through, they've expressed things such as, the main thing that they've expressed to me is building a hangar that has access for automobiles on one side, airplanes on the other. And in the meantime, there's one particular company that's out of Northeast Tennessee that has other things that they provide the electric for, like some data services or something like that while they're in the process. So utilizing some of the hangar for some data services and different things. But the idea is taking advantage of some of the grants that are out there, building this charging stations. Their particular business in East Tennessee works with they have adapters that work with all the different companies that are out there currently that are currently building either vertical takeoff and landing or building other types of electric components for aircraft. Of course, the company that's building across the street, they're providing some of the materials that are going to be used in batteries. Then you have the Motlow, if you talk to them, they're going to be working in conjunction with TCAT that's coming across the street to be working on the motor side of things and some of the other things that they brought up. So they just seem like it's almost feels like we're getting courted by the state to be a location. And so it's kind of it was hard for me not to think about it a lot because of that and the fact of being able to utilize I've been approached by multiple people in reference to putting it for vehicles, but this is the first time I had the opportunity to mix it with both sides of transportation. And it makes sense because of the fact that one of the biggest concerns I've had is the fact that it's on down. Everybody keeps giving these further forecasts. So what do you do until then? So that's this company out of East Tennessee is the one that's sort of saying, hey, we have an idea of how to utilize this stuff until the aviation side of the house catches up, sort of until the other. And so
Paul, what are they proposing?
they're proposing that we.
We or they?
Yes.
I have
actually
no interest in building a hangar for electric cars and airplanes. If they want to come lease the land and they want to pay us for it and give us part of those credits from the feds and all that.
And build the hangar.
And build the hangar and everything else. As just for me, I'd be happy to listen.
One of the things that was discussed, and I think what they've talked about is the land would be the local share and then they would build the hangars. And then we would get percentages of the charges. Things of that nature. I think some of that kind of stuff, I think is still how the proper compensation is coming out. Because I do know that is a concern for me maybe not for me, but whoever replaces me after I retire for MTSU for, all of a sudden, if I go from selling them 50 and 60,000 gallons a month in aviation fuel and they turn electric, where am I going to get any income from them?
Right.
Because they're going to be on a different piece of property there. I'm just going to get rent. That doesn't count. I need more than just rent to justify this, what we're doing. So we need to be able to look for the future. And so we need to be able to have it to where we can charge them.
But are there any airplanes that actually fly today that are electric?
Yes.
More than 100 miles?
I don't know the mileage, but one of the airports that we manage in Middletown, Ohio, nearby Springfield, Ohio, they're near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base up there in Dayton. They contract with a company called Joby, and they're one of the farthest along, and they're actually doing proving runs. They've approached us in Middletown. They have a charging station, and it's really cool. I saw that, and I thought, why would they put an electric charging station on the ramp side? Well, it's for the Joby VTOL aircraft. And now a completely automated VTOL will take off from Springfield, fly to Middletown, make its traffic pattern, just integrates with everyone else, making radio calls, automated radio calls, everything, land in Middletown, take off again and go to Miami University Airport, land there, and then back to Springfield. So they're setting this up as a proving run now and under military contract. So they're the farthest along, but there are 2 or 3 other companies right in there that are ready to do this.
Yeah, they're gonna charge at each one of those landings.
I don't know. We're not that far along in the process yet. Right now, they're doing, they still have somebody at a control center that is in this, almost looks like a giant gaming thing. And they're monitoring and sometimes getting involved when the software doesn't do exactly what they want.
No
So-
pilots, no business.
No pilots.
Put other pilots out of business.
Completely,
Period.
yeah. But to answer your question, there are companies that are that far along where they've been given authority from the FAA to conduct flight testing already, and they're doing so. And a lot of them are military contracts and
One of the things that is intriguing to that is because of the military and other is the reason why this company caught my attention was because of the fact that they understand that the aviation is catching up slowly, but they're offering to take advantage of the grants that are out there from defense and from other pots and take advantage of it by building these hangars. And while you're waiting, you get to use the hangar. So if you utilize the fact that it's, they built it, the hangar with a grant, but we ran out of space until such time as maybe that there is storage required for VTOLs or there's a maintenance facility which would make sense with TCAT being right across the street, that at some point in time, there could very well be either a place for maintenance or something like that in the future. But I understand that's way in the future. However, we could be able to utilize their money, somebody else's money, their legwork and somebody else in the federal money to build something we could use.
but
Again, that's kind of a way that I'm talking about having the fact that there's not that much money available. So we're going to look at different pots to pull from.
let me clarify something, Paul, to like Gary's concern. What the ask here is that we just tell the state we're interested in an opportunity if it comes up. Is that what you're saying? So it's not committing us to build a hangar or anything like that? Is that?
No, not yet. No,
Okay,
I'm just saying, I'm just giving examples they gave us
right.
of possibilities of things that are out there at the airports conference when we had at different times and discussed them.
How many planes will they hangar hold? Do you know?
No, they haven't gotten that far yet because it's all based on which size, but most maintenance facilities, that's standard. Or anything else with it? I mean, usually they're about 100 by 100s is usually where they start.
About the size of Mac Air.
Back here, yeah.
It's just a letter of interest. As I move that we accept and send a letter of interest, say, well, it's whatever they have.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Will second.
We got a second and a motion. All in favor? All right. Great. Thank you.
Well, do we get any special consideration from the state if we agree to this process taking place in terms of available money?
That's, they described it, yes, it would be pulling from federal grants instead of state grants.
Okay.
But it could be that it would be ECD money, not aeronautic. It would be coming from different pots. And I think that's probably the reason that would not be a direct draw from aviation side of things, not from the General Assembly for under transportation. It would be under different pots like ECD and federal.
Yeah. Okay, seeing nothing else on new business, we'll move to other business and announcements. Paul, you want to make those announcements?
Of course, I'm skipping the next board meeting, going just to the aviation day. You guys know when the next board meeting is. But aviation day is coming up quickly. And we're hoping that everybody's praying for good weather that day already. We've had some interest. Hopefully get some more. It's harder and harder every day to get because of the fact that we rely on volunteers to get people to come in. It's making it more and more difficult, but the community I know is looking forward to it. They're anxious about it. We'll be calling in every favor we can, things like that to try to get people in as much different things here that people don't think about. And know that our neighbors down the street, they're going to be supporting us this time for the first time, which will be good. And it's something they want to get into a little bit more. I've asked them not to bring free samples for tastings or anything like that. But they can arrange it for other times and other
Or a
things.
gift certificate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were some,
They can
but I
bring a
didn't,
barbecue.
but yes, they are bringing barbecue. Right now, as of right now, they're just trying to determine how much they're bringing in. But there will be some, they'll be doing some giveaways, I'm sure, if you're asked for, if you want more than
Is
that.
MTSU gonna be doing more than, I know they've done a lot in the past, but are they gonna be doing more since?
I have asked for that. The lady that, I've been working with, she just left, on the 15th, but I've already been reached out to by Bree, her replacement. And so, I will be touching base with her today or tomorrow, not tomorrow, but today, because tomorrow's a holiday. But today, this afternoon, in hopes of, trying to settle everything down. I know Savannah said she had left behind a lot of notes and things like that for her, because Savannah and I talked quite a bit about the footprint and having people there that actually have an idea of what might be happening in the future. So that people, when the locals start asking questions, they don't just look at them and shrug and say, I don't know, so that when the MTSU students are asked that are volunteering at their location, but yes, there'll be airplanes here for them to touch. There'll be other things that they'll be set up. Like they've done drone stuff for us before in the past. They'll be doing, as far as I know, unless something squirrely happens or the winds are high or something like that, they'll be doing that again. So
Uncle Nearest with a hot air balloon.
no they did not get their hot air balloon built, so they don't have one to put up yet, but maybe that's for next year. We'll see.
Dave Bugsy's got hot air balloon.
Yep, and there is still a possibility with that hot air balloon that it could just be like we're doing with the paragliders. It could be that it's just laid out so people can see it. They won't, because it's all based on what the weather could do.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of the hot air balloon people, midday is not the day to do hot air balloons because of the potential winds.
Mhm.
So it could be that they'll be willing to just lay it out so you can see it.
Yeah.
See the idea, see how it's made. That's what the paragliders are going to do. They're going to be set up over here again. We already have News Channel 5 helicopters going to be here. They're going to be showing off for people and flying around. We're trying to get them some competition. One of their other competitors that has a helicopter to come down to, just so people can see that. But the balloons, I'm hoping that'll come through. We'll see.
Great. Any other announcements?
Well, I have a question. That Zeppelin that we see from time to time now flying over Shelbyville, does it have anything to do with us or this airport?
No, the blimp that you got.
Yeah.
No, it's all out of, and as a matter of fact, they're done with it at Smyrna. Smyrna has a blimp hangar, and there's a company there that basically does ad work. They're swapping out the panels on the outside. They had that aircraft in and they were doing some training for some different French pilots and stuff like that. And yeah, I think for March Madness the other day, I saw a photo from John Black that had a Charles Barkley.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it's just that company's been there for quite a while there in Smyrna. That a lot of people are using one of the old military hangars from when it was an Air Force base, and they do a lot of different ad work on those smaller ones that can actually fit in the hangar. So that one you saw that was with us quite a bit, was just doing some training in the area. Then it's moved on out, but for the most part, most of them come in, get retrofitted, and move back out.
Okay, well, hearing no other announcements, my favorite announcement is meeting adjourned.
You did it. Good job.
Yeah, you be here next, I may not make the next meeting. April 25th. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I plan yeah. I need to be there, don't I? I need to be there, don't I?
I guess. Good to see you back.
And get to see early.
To get a parking space.
Uh,
To get a parking space. You need to-
Yeah, that's my mark. Always park the same, I'll walk down the hill.
And then this one is.
It's like.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home thinking that.
Did you see the
She
email?
thinks,
Did you see the email about Brian?
No.
Check your email.
That was it.
I know I'm in Atlanta the week before, and I know I'm in Atlanta the week after.
So I know that there's a chance that this is the week after.
We're losing.
I gotta go early.
So I don't know.
Okay.
Once I figure it out, I'll go talk to my wife.
Okay, but if you just keep Paul appraised and all these.
Yeah, I will. Okay.
You're on cruise.
You had a quote from
What?
somebody, didn't you?
Yes.